All right. So I always love these Meet the Megas. Not only do you guys get to learn more about people, I get to do so in the prep work and stuff in the meetings we have, although I've always been very close with Marybeth in the office as she joined our office in 2014. And I had the pleasure of joining in 2017, and she was already serving on the ALC and a huge part of our office and our culture and leadership. So really excited to interview her today, and really share, I think, what she brings to her business and kind of the high expectations she has for herself and what she gives to her clients in her community. So really excited about that. Um, and for me personally, Mary Beth's just always been a sounding board and a support system from the office, from an agent perspective, always helping me as the team leader get better and improve things that we do. So I really appreciate her partnership since I've been the team leader. So, Mary Beth, I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are before real estate, and then we'll go from there.
Let me first start by saying, Kate and Kelly, those were very generous and kind introductions that humble me to no end. So I really appreciate that, those remarks. And it's nice to see everybody here. I hope everybody's nice and cozy on a snow day. I actually love snow days. I'm not sure how many of you feel the same way, but coming from New England, I'd rather have snow any day of the week versus rain. And I would rather be on the ski slopes than anywhere else when it snows. So let me give you a little bit of background on my professional background, because it's a bit different than most agents. I've had 6 careers, because I don't know what it means to fail, and I've failed plenty, but I just launch in and look back and go, oh, well, that didn't work, so I'll go do something else. But most of it was great. And when it wasn't great anymore, then I would move on to something else. If I started to get bored or felt like I accomplished all my objectives, then I would just move to something else that I found more interesting. So I started out as a legislative assistant on Capitol Hill, and enjoyed that immensely, and thought I would actually have a career in government and or law, and then decided when I delved into that wasn't really a good match. So I transitioned into lobbying, worked for Sprint, worked in the telecom technology world for quite a long time, and then decided that I didn't really care for the lifestyle of lobbying, and decided to move into the business side. And went back and got my MBA, moved into the account management side, government account management side, at a time when they took no one outside of a sales career. Didn't know that. And they actually hired me and then fired me almost instantaneously when they realized that I didn't have the 5 years of sales credentials that they were seeking in the job. So I had to reapply, get rehired, and then got on a business path. And so I spent quite a bit of time in account management, government account sales, government program management, became the director of a multi-billion-dollar telecom program that serviced 40% of the federal government. It was a job no one else wanted, and I think I was the last one in the room, and got asked by the president to run it, because the program directors routinely got fired and by the government or by the prime contractor. So like I said, I've had a wonderful career. I then decided I wanted to go from landline into wireless. So I jumped over into 2 wireless startup businesses, ran divisions for them as their vice president, their regional vice presidents or their division vice presidents, and then got pregnant and was on maternity leave, and got a call from an Accenture vice president who I'd worked with in a previous job. And he asked me if I would come in and help with the transition of cable and wireless's MCI's business into cable and wireless, English-based company. And it sounded like a huge amount of fun. So I decided to do that. And that's what launched my consulting business, which I then did for quite a few years, advising executives on how to increase shareholder value, how to launch new products, how to create brands to increase shareholder value. I served on executive boards for to advise executives on problem-solving business problems that they had, and did that for quite a long time. Then I decided that I had reached all my goals there, and then woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday and decided I was going to start a real estate business. I'd always wanted to do that since I was in my 20s. And it just seemed like it was the right time. I'm not so sure my kids would agree with that, but at the time, but it felt like it was the right time. So that's what I did.
How
And
old were they? So you have
they
twin
were,
boys. We'll
I
get
have
to that
twin
later.
boys, Michael, who's on the call and is an agent in the business now, and Kevin, who's dual career. He's both a personal trainer and is also an agent on the team. And they were in, Michael was at middle school.
So busy time.
Yeah, it was a busy time. And the next question will answer the why my sons asked, now what made you make that transition?
So like any agent getting into the business, even though as accomplished as you were, it doesn't always start off like roses and perfection. So tell us a little bit about after you decided at 2 o'clock in the morning to get a real estate license, what that next year or two looked like for you.
So I went and got my license, just like everybody on the call, and started doing all the things that Keller Williams tells you to do. What, start lead generating, call your friends, call your sphere, ask for the business, start cultivations and all that stuff. So I started doing that. I'd walk around the house with my cell phone, call my friends from my previous careers. And everybody I spoke to had either bought a house or sold a house by the time I got to them. So I said, well, that's not working. And for anybody who's done that, you know how discouraging that can be. And you feel like, oh goodness, when am I ever going to get my first client? So in the meantime, of course, we've got a mortgage, we've got tuition, we've got bills to pay, just like everybody on the call. And for 6 months, I had no business after, having a very successful consulting career. And so I shifted, and I did again what many people I do on this call is I started just hosting open houses, and that was how I've got my first clients, is through the open houses. There was one open house where I got 6 new clients, either listing or buying clients, but combination of both. And within about 5 months, I had $7 million of business. But in the 6 months that I had no business, that was the tough time. And my husband, who I'm eternally grateful for, as I'm wringing my hands trying to figure out what to do, he said, how about if we just take out a loan? So he took out a loan against his government TSP to get us through that period. And that's why my sons asked me. So as we're having these conversations around the table about cutting back on expenses and things of that nature, as I'm building this business, that's when they asked me the question, so why did you make that transition to this career? And I promised them that it would work out in the end, which it has.
Well, I think you took the approach that this was a business more so than a lot of other agents getting into the business, because that's where your history and everything you've done is treated it as a business. And we'll talk more about that too. So tell me a little bit more. So I know when we talked prior, you didn't have people in your sphere that were looking to immediately buy and sell, although you were keeping in touch and you were calling them. So open houses. So how did you make open houses work for you? And what did you do? How can people be more successful at that?
Well, as I look back on that one house in particular, that a couple met me at another open house and asked me to sell their house in it was in near Virginia Square, so it was close to Metro, but it was 2 stories. It was a dated Cape Cod, and it had 3 children in there who really took a toll in the house. And so the first thing we did is we polished it up, we staged it, and she kept putting this religious statue in the front yard, and I just kept moving it to the side yard for every time there was a showing. But they're wonderful people, still very good friends. And what I noticed back to that first open house that I had for my first listing was, or that was my second listing at the time, was it was just the enthusiasm and the engagement. Every time someone walked in the door, and then the follow-up with them. And then what I found is, in having, materials and things of value, all the things that KW teaches us, to give them and to show them that this is how we would sell your house if we were selling your house. And that's when people started calling me to sell their house. And that actually continues today. When they see how we hold open houses, and the feedback I get is how we engage with every individual buyer like they're the only person in the room, and engage them with the house, engage them as individuals, and showing the amount of care that we have both for the house and for them as individual buyers. And that's the feedback that I've received from others who have hired me when they meet me at open houses. There's one gentleman who just came up to me and he goes, "I really like you. I'm going to hire you to be my buyer agent." I was like, okay, that works. And he was a doctor in a practice, and then he referred me other doctors, and he bought a $1.2 million house, and that was about 10 years ago. So that was great.
So with that 7 million in production, you were Rookie of the Year your first year. So congratulations.
Thank you.
But for those of you in your rookie years that 6 months with nothing and still Rookie of the Year. So that's it's the gradually then suddenly thing that we see in a lot of people's businesses. Is we do the work, and sometimes agents or potential agents give up a little bit sooner because going 6 months without a paycheck is stressful. It's taking a toll on the family. It's everything, and so. But that's what this business takes, right? So from 6 months of no money coming in and taking a loan out to Rookie of the Year and 7 million in production, that's pretty awesome. So congratulations.
Kelly, can I just add really quick? I just think one of the things that Marybeth shared is the enthusiasm is such a big deal. And I think potentially the longer people get into the business, I've seen some people lose their enthusiasm over their business. And that's certainly not a reflection of Marybeth. I'm just saying that I think that's so underrated. And I recently heard on a coaching call I was on that if you're more passionate about your football team right now in the playoffs than you are about your real estate business, you might have a problem. And I was like, interesting. They're like, why are people not showing up with that same level of intensity and loyalty and grit and grind for your own business? So I just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you for pointing that out.
Love that. So I know, so Marybeth, so starting off, going after you're the people that know, like you, and trust you in your sphere, not really having success there, moving to the open housing, because if you don't already have them in your database, we have to add to the database. So tell us, tell us what does your business look like now? So from 2014 to now, where have you come and where are you getting business? I know we talked a lot about, and I know you're very community based. So I want you to share a little bit about what you do for your own family and yourself that leads to the success in business too. So there's a little double-sided questions. Where did your business come from, or where is it today, and then how do you involve the community?
So, and it was an evolution. That's a really important word to underscore, because when you start in this business, and I'd love to see a show of hands for anybody who's been through this, everybody comes running at you, right? Saying, you need to buy this, you need to buy this, you need to buy these leads, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so as you're starting your business, there were a couple of things that I did, in either buying leads or buying technology or doing a video or doing this or doing that, and spending money on, that I just realized was not authentic to who I am as a business leader, as a person, and it didn't give me any results. And so after feeling like I was drinking from a firehouse for the first year and a half of my business, where just everything comes bombarding at you. I just started settling into who I am as a person and what I want to give back to the community and also give to my team. And my team is on the call. I want to point out Nicole Franklin Clark, Kim Coles, Michael is on the call. Kevin is at the gym doing personal training, so he's not here. And Jessica, who's the pillar of our operation from a marketing and social media and just overall operations perspective, are all on the call. And we all share the same sense of, Nicole said it best, loving on our clients. We love our clients. If we don't love our clients, then it's not a good fit for them or for us. And it's only been twice in my career that I've had to fire a client where it just wasn't a good fit. So then I started during Bold. Who takes Bold? Who's taken Bold multiple times?
Well, I have to interject there, Marybeth, because I remember a very important conversation of I don't want to take Bold again, because Bold was about expired calls and things like that. And yet, as every good training and coaching program does, it evolves. And then so yes, Marybeth was a reluctant Bold attendee once upon a time, and yet takes it every time now. So I appreciate that.
I was a total reluctant. Kelly's being kind. I was like, I'm not doing it, Kelly. I'm just not doing it. And I'm not calling for sales and FISBOs and expireds and all that other stuff. And so Kelly coached me through that to still get through Bold. But one of the things that just struck me like a thunderbolt was coming from a place of generosity. And the minute I heard that, my whole business just came into focus. If you come from a place of generosity, you're not selling, you're not talking people into doing something they don't want to do. You're just constantly contributing. You're contributing to your clients, and you're contributing to your staff, and you're contributing to the community. So then that's how I designed the business. I designed it around the areas of it that are most meaningful to me. And I encourage my team to do the same thing. We have conversations about what's most meaningful to them, and we work to support that as well. So as I look at the pillars, giving back to the community is really important. And I do it from a spiritual perspective through my church. I'm chair of the parish council. Didn't see that coming. I did want to be part of the parish council. And then I was asked last year by the pastor to chair it, which totally surprised me. And I do a lot of volunteer work at the church at St. Anne's in Arlington, and I advertise in the bulletins. I support the school. We have this wonderful little K through 8 school, and quite a bit of business has come from that community. Another area of interest is the arts. I've served on the board at Signature Theater for decades. I'm now on the honorary board, the emeritus board, and theater and supporting actors and artists, and just learning from them, they have to be perfect on stage. There's no other career that I can think of where you have to be 100% perfect. And I always thank, but as Gary Keller says, don't practice on your clients. Actors practice. So they're quite an inspiration. And that's another community that brings business.
So funny side note about that is you actually know my sister Erin from Signature Theater before Keller Williams in real estate. So
yeah, and I think I found her at Bold at the Bold class, and I'm like looking at Erin. Erin was in not an actor, she was in stage production.
Yeah. And
so I knew her from Signature Theater, and then I get into a real estate meeting and there's Erin. Yeah. And I have to say that I just couldn't be happier about the trajectory she's been on and the success that she's had with her business. I mean, it's just been a natural fit for her. She's a wonderful realtor, business person, and a person in general. Yeah, that just really threw me a curveball. And then to find out she had a twin sister on top of it, that was another big surprise. Great thing about this business. So the other pillars, so the arts, and it's also visual arts. So we support women artists, and that's another pillar, is supporting women in business. So I'm co-chair of the Mothers of North Arlington Business Entrepreneurs Network. And it's been another great feeder for lots of referrals and new clients active in that community, and just giving back and helping the women in that community outside of real estate with finding jobs, answering questions, helping them with their houses, helping them, upgrade their house, whatever they need, just helping them along. And then health. Some of you who see me on Instagram know that I'm a late bloomer when it comes to weightlifting. So I do Olympic lifting, very heavy lifting, and it's just been so pivotal to my health personally, to my confidence, and my ability to do things that I could do when I was in my 20s, because I suffered through some back issues and some arthritis in my knees, because I was a runner, and I played all kinds of sports that just take that just beat the daylights out of your knees. So I've had arthritis in my knees. So between the weightlifting and some other things that I've done, I can now surf, play basketball again, play tennis, play pickleball, do all the things, ski, and not feel like I'm a cripple after I do all those things. So those are the really important pillars of our business, and all of it feeds, it all feeds business into the Magnificent Manners team. And the combination of just doing what I love, both from a business perspective, from a community perspective, from an interest perspective, and just having it all come together, it's just been a delight.
This is like one of the things that I coach a lot of agents to personally. And then, like, when you have hobbies or things that you are super passionate about supporting, and you show up for those reasons first and the business comes second, but you're showing up with authenticity for yourself and your community before thinking about what you're going to get from real estate, right? So the things that you've chosen to dive deeper into with the community are things that you want to do regardless of the business side.
Right.
So when you show up in that way, and I know the member like Kim on your team has her passions, like everyone on your team have things that they're extremely passionate about, and business comes from showing up in that way. I know you mentioned, I think Kevin and Michael had their first listing from a bowling team that they're on, or something like that. So they're showing up to go to a weekly bowling league. And those relationships spur from wanting to do those activities for themselves first, but putting themselves and yourself into conversations on a regular basis with people you have relationships with and new people, and then giving contributions to them first before asking for anything else.
Right. And then one thing I want to also talk about, I had a MAPS coach for a while. She was excellent. And one of the ideas that she gave me, because I hadn't been focusing on my neighborhood, and Marietta Jemison, who's on this call, Marietta dominates her neighborhood. Natalie Roy dominates her neighborhood in a good way. This is all in a good way, because that sounds like a pretty aggressive word that I just used. And I just saw how successful they were, and realized that I hadn't been really cultivating my neighborhood like I should be, and giving back to the neighborhood and helping my neighbors. And so my MAPS coach, because I wasn't quite sure how to do it, I didn't want to door knock. I didn't know the approach. My MAPS coach gave me this idea to do a neighborhood yard sale. She had done one for many, many years and had been hugely successful. And so that's what we started out doing. And again, thanks to this wonderful team, Magnificent Manners team, we were able to do the yard sale, because it's quite an effort. But once you do it the first time and the second time, it becomes much more streamlined. And we give out ice cream, we put up signs, we do all the work for everybody. We do all the advertising, we put a map together. Thank you, Jessica. And do social media posts. Again, thank you, Jessica Laughlin, for all the promotional work that she does around the yard sale. And then I go and visit everyone who participates, and the neighbors, and give out ice cream, again, from the Nice Cream shop in Clarendon, which is a woman-owned ice cream shop. and she's a member of my Mona Ben group. So I wanted to support her and also give something back to the people who participated in the yard sale. That's been very successful as far as now getting listings in the neighborhood, and that'll continue to cultivate. We do that every year in September, and it's work, but I highly recommend it because it gives you so many reasons to talk to your neighbors. And I started by sending out about 1,500, can't believe this, 1,500 holiday cards, and 500 of those were to my neighborhood. And in it was, and look for in September, October, look for the yard sale, so I could let them know. So it was another touch point, and they knew that it was me who was, and the team who are hosting the yard sale. So it's the first notice at the end of December, beginning of January, that they're getting notice that the yard sale is coming up in September. So it's just a great way to, again, help. But you get so many touches out of it. And now when people see me, they go, oh yeah, you're the one who does the yard sale. Because I've got signs up all over the neighborhood too. When it comes
to put your name up everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also value, because there's a lot of people that want to do those things, but don't have a process or a method to do it in the neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, okay, there's a date and a time and everyone's going to come out and do it together. So
yeah, and they don't have to do anything but put their stuff on their driveway. That's all they have to do, and sell it. And and then we have a happy hour afterwards. So I have a neighborhood happy hour and invite everybody who participated in the yard sale and the entire neighborhood. And we come in, and this year we did what we used to call plus delta in the corporate world. What worked well, what would we change for coming up in the next year, in addition to drinking wine and eating food.
Yeah, you do incorporate that. I know you invited me to an event at your house where I loved this idea too, where she brought in her sphere and her past clients and taught them how to improve the value of their house through staging to live or upgrading, kitchens, bathrooms. And she just taught us, had tacos and margaritas, fun time, and then just taught them something. So it wasn't about getting a sale right then and there, but it was about improving the lives and the wealth and equity of her past clients. And so those are just ways that people like to spend time with you and also get value out of what you can teach them. So tell us a little bit about your philosophy of the team, the value you create for your clients, and because that in itself gets a lot of referrals with the care and the actual consultation approach you take with your clients.
And that's a good way to put it, is we are very consultative. We go in there really sensitive to the situation of why they're selling or why they're buying and what their goals are. So recently I've had several clients who have lost spouses, and so they're selling their property because they're moving out of either the big house or the condo and moving somewhere else after a spouse died. That's a really emotional time for people. And so wrapping your arms around them and giving them comfort as they're making that transition, and then talking to them about what we do to help them through that transition. So to give you some examples, there was an older couple that I met standing in line at Ross Dress for Less. Who would have thought? And
would you have your name tag on?
No. Marietta does that so well, but no, I didn't have a name tag on. But they were talking about Rhode Island. They were talking about Newport, Rhode Island, and she was buying some things to go to Newport, Rhode Island, which is where I grew up. So, because I'm so shy and retiring, everybody who knows me knows that I'm really shy and bashful. But so I said, that's where I grew up. My goodness, are you going to Newport, Rhode Island? And she said, yeah, I'm going up for my Wells of Reunion. Oh my gosh, I went to Smith. La, la, la. I mean, we ended up talking for about a half an hour, 45 minutes in Ross Dress for Less. Well, it turns out that they needed to downsize their house in Lake Barcroft. And they have no family in this area. And this is not uncommon for the clients that we work with. They had no family in the area to help them. And so we ended up, they had a 6,000 square foot house. Michael, Kevin, and I packed up that entire house to save them money so that they could afford to move into a senior living facility. And that's just an example of, our approach is their goal was to move into the senior living community. I had to sell their house at a certain price for them to be able to afford to move into that senior living community. Because I went through the numbers with the senior living community, representative. And so we had to get to a certain price, which was really off the charts when it came to what people were telling me the house was worth. And we did it. And they moved in, and that's where they are today. And then we actually helped them transition into that property as well. So we really focus on, what's going on in their lives, and almost like we're a member of the family. We just come in without overstepping our bounds, but just do what it takes to help them make whatever transition that they're making. Because whenever you're buying or selling a house, you're making a transition. I've helped people decorate their houses once they move in. We do a lot of renovations to increase the value of the house to meet their goals. We did another one where it made more sense to sell to a developer. We were able to sell it to a developer so that one of the two could retire. He hated his job and he wanted to retire. So I was able to get the price high enough so that he could retire at a pretty early age and get out of the job that he didn't like. So that's how we approach it, just from a very personal perspective. What is it that you really, really want to accomplish here? And then we go do it. And a lot of times it's against all odds when I think back to some of these transactions we've done, but it all seems to work out.
So you do a lot of like when you're listing a home, and it's to your name of your team, which is Magnificent Manners. You try to make every home magnificent in its way, or showcase it that way. So what are the things that you do? I don't really prep you for this question, but what do you do to prepare a listing to make sure that you get top dollar? Because you really have some great results when it comes to the sales that you've had, and a lot of luxury properties too. I mean, I've been to a broker's open of yours, a very low price condo too, but you still changed every light fixture. You updated the covers of the outlets, everything, to make sure that it was going to show properly. So tell us a little bit about that process.
We start with, since we do buyers and sellers, we know, and I also took this buyer behavior class in business school, which, you think the buyer behavior class you think your classes are never going to help you, but it does. So putting yourself in the minds of the buyer and understanding what they're looking for when they go into a house and what they object to when they go into a house. So knowing that, we go in and we take out the objections. And from a big picture perspective, it's just taking the age out of the house. And the easiest way to do that, as everybody knows on this call, is paint. But we replace doorknobs. We make sure that we replace the outlet covers, anything that has rust on it. We replace bathroom fixtures. We replace light fixtures, inside and out. We'll fix up the yard. We'll make sure it's mulched. And we have contractors that will do all this work for our clients, and they do it at a really reasonable cost. But then we do a price analysis, and we're about to do this for a house coming up on the market in Burke, where we first price it from, if I sell your house just as it stands today, we don't do anything to it at all. And then if we do this, what would the price differential be? So the numbers have to warrant the change, the updates, and usually they do. So we have a rule: we have to get $1.50 for every new dollar we invest in that house. We have to get $1.50 back in a price increase. And if we don't, there's no reason to do it. And most of the time we get $4 or $5 back for every dollar we put into it. And so we show the client the numbers, and then we ask them how much they want to do. Sometimes they pick in between, sometimes they pick everything. Rarely do they pick nothing, because the numbers are so compelling as to how much more they're going to make. So,
and you make the design selections.
Yeah, I do all the design work. Yeah. And with my contractor, because I spend a lot of time studying that and knowing what are things that are timeless that would appeal to the broadest scope of buyers. I've been doing the design work since I was in middle school.
Yeah, it's a passion of yours and it shows.
Yes.
Well, it's definitely working, because I just looked up your stats while you were talking about this concept, and your original price to sale price ratio over the last 12 months is 103.2. So on average, you're getting 3.2% more than the list price for your listings, which is a huge value proposition to speak to when you're negotiating or you're up against competition. And I know Kelly will probably mention it, but I mean, your units are up 45% and your volume's up 83%. So amazing. So I just wanted to share that because this concept definitely works.
Thank you, Kate.
Awesome. I knew she was up, but I didn't know that much. That's awesome. I know, well, you had some spectacular years when it was difficult for other people, but I think that's a tribute to all of the community work going back to like you're showing up. And you also didn't really stop in COVID, even though the market was a little bit better for us, but you just kept on going and really didn't take time. Like some people chose, okay, I'm going to take it easy, but you did not at all. And you were more involved with the community things, I think. So it really is paying off. This is a business that doesn't pay off right away, but it's over time, right? So I know, so tell us a little bit about how your team is structured now and what does that look like in the next 5-10 years for you? What are your goals that way?
So there are 4 agents on the team. Kim, who lives in DC, Kim Coles, lives in DC and is licensed in DC and Virginia. And she is a co-op expert. If there's anybody who ever has to sell a co-op or buy a co-op, please consult with Kim first, because, and we actually wrote a blog about the difference between a co-op and a condo. And it's not trivial. The difference is not trivial. And Kim has another big theme is we're problem solvers. And Kim has done some phenomenal problem solving to get co-ops that would have never gotten sold or closed without her. She's got
a researcher on the team.
Yeah. And so that's an area of expertise, but of course Kim does single family homes and condos and everything else, and is a true asset. And I love the fact that we have people on the team that live where they work. Now everybody works in Virginia also, but it's an asset to be able to say when we're talking to DC clients, Kim lives in DC, knows DC extremely well. I've lived there too, but she's lead, I'm support. Nicole Franklin Clark, who just came back to our team, which we're thrilled about, lives in PG County. She has more credentials than I could ever get in a lifetime. She's an academic and a practitioner, and she has expertise in construction. And she actually nailed a house in DC where there was a leak in the roof. And she pointed out to the client several deficiencies in the house, and which was really helpful during and this, Nicole, this goes back to when you were on the team the first time. That was helpful during the home inspection. So lots of deep expertise in the construction, real estate, design area that Nicole brings to the team, and she lives in PG County. So having her as our Maryland resident, I have to, as a team leader, I have to be licensed in Maryland, but Nicole again is our lead, and she's also licensed in Virginia. And then Kevin and Michael, who just joined the team during COVID, they decided, instead of doing what they had planned to do after college, that they wanted to come into the business. They're both licensed in Virginia, and have been getting they've done quite a nice job of lead generation, and theirs is coming from the Bishop O'Connell community, the Catholic community, the Catholic school community that they grew up in, and through bowling and through the gym, through sports. Kevin's a personal trainer, so his clients that he trains and he also teaches a senior class, they hire him to sell their homes, and we'll hire them in the future when they make their transitions. So they've adopted the same, the same approach. And interestingly enough, Kevin showed a property to Michael, if it was you, sorry about that, because sometimes I get my sons confused. I shouldn't, but I do. But anyway, the buyer who came in to look at a condo, turns out he went to St. James, where Kevin and Michael went to school, and he went to O'Connell, where Kevin and Michael went to school. So there's that immediate, bridge, community bridge, and then hired us to be his buyer agent. And then there were all kinds of coincidences after that about, community coincidences. Interestingly enough, he was giving me feedback during one of our conversations, which I always appreciate. And he goes, well, Marybeth, I was talking to my mom about you. And I said, she's either the most amazing con artist or she's really a wonderful person.
Oh, man.
He goes, I never realized that you're just really a wonderful person. And I said, okay, good. I'm glad that had a happy ending to that story.
Wow. You're like, I don't know what to say.
So that's that can be the downside of how I come across sometimes, I guess. But anyway, yeah, we got
truly want to help, but they're skeptical of that because I guess not everybody acts in that way, I guess.
Yeah, so we got him the condo, his first choice condo. So he's a happy fan.
So I like what you say, even with the buyers, they hire you. So I didn't prep you for this one either, but you also, you only work by buyer agreement.
Right.
So it just like listing a house, you're not going to go out and show properties and work with a buyer that hasn't hired you to be their agent. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's a discussion we have on our team, right, Kim, right, Michael, right, Nicole, is whether it's a tenant or a buyer that we have to. Coming from a government contracting background where compliance, the compliance with the laws and regulations was such a big part of what we did every day. And if we weren't compliant, not only could the government sue the company, they could also sue me as an individual. So it's just in my DNA that if the rules and regulations say X and the law says X, that's what we do. And, it's the law that it's pretty clear that once you start advising a buyer, you need to have a buyer agreement in place. And we just explained that to them, that it's the law. We explained that they can cancel it with no penalty, that it's not locking them in, but it is a loyalty agreement that says we're both going to work together for the goal of finding whatever type of residential property that they have, but it is the law. And so they need to sign it. We review it with them and they need to sign it before we can really move to the next step. And that's part of the consultation. We either do a Zoom, most of the time we do a Zoom consultation. We have a buyer guide that we walk through. It has a flow chart in it. And it's part of the consultation that as next steps, we have to do this. We have to sign this buyer agreement.
Awesome. So I know, tell us a little bit about your goal for the team and where are we going?
So I'm going to get my my broker's license, which I started last year, and want to continue with the education and taking a deeper dive so I can be a better team leader by just having more knowledge and expertise in our field. And there's no plan to expand the team unless we find just an extraordinary fit. We have a phenomenal team right now, and it works really well. We support each other. They're family to me. I hope I'm family to them too. And in 2 cases, at least, I am real family. So there's no goal to really expand it unless again, we find a really good fit. We'll continue to grow the business though. The goal is to grow everybody's individual portfolios to the maximum extent that we can. And, we work hard, but we want to make money. So I want to make sure my agents make money and have fun and feel good about it as they're doing it. And then, the ultimate goal for me over time is to be what, Kelly, is it level 7?
Yeah.
Level 7. Yeah. And this, very talented team takes over the business, and I'm helping to grow the business, bring clients in, and keep the vision going and the strategy and ideas going. But that's the ultimate goal.
So tell us, so you started at Keller Williams in 2014. So you've stayed for 10 years. So tell us a little bit of why Keller Williams and what trainings and things, I know bold, but tell us what's been the best trainings or the most highest recommendations you have for the other people out there, maybe new to Keller Williams or maybe even thinking about Keller Williams.
So I've stayed with Keller Williams for a couple of different reasons. And again, like everybody on this call, I'm sure you've all been recruited by other brokerages. And so there's always a process of comparison. Is this where I want to stay? Is this where I want to be? And the culture that we have here, the culture of integrity, to me, is the primary reason I joined Keller Williams. I had worked for a marketing company that didn't. Every company I worked for, let me back up. Every company I worked for had a very strong culture of integrity. And when you're in business, that matters so much, because you want to know that your company is going to back you 100% when you get into those tricky situations. And my companies always did, until one I worked for did not. And I had just had that experience when recently enough, before I decided to go into real estate, that it was top of mind. And so integrity was the most important thing. And I will tell you that Kate, Kelly, Shane, they always have your back. They always have your back. And anybody who does any number of transactions, I had an agent take me to arbitration. Me, contract compliance girl, took me to arbitration over a dispute on procuring cause. And Shane, and it was Dean Dillard was the broker, Rick Basel. I want to mention Rick in this, but Dean Dillard was the broker, and they had my back through the whole thing. And the comfort that gives you when you're an agent out there, because we're also independent business people, but having that comfort and that air cover is nothing short of phenomenal. And I'll always be grateful to KW Metro Center, to Shane, for what he did for me during that 1 year. It took a year to go through that arbitration, and we ultimately won.
Like a large amount, it was like $40,000 that it was over, right? And a lot of people told you to settle with her and just, because she was, I won't name, but a little bit of a bully. She had done this to other people. Right. But I remember you had like a stack of papers that's big of all of your documentation, because you've always done the right thing and you had everything. Yeah. So
yeah, it was about a foot tall of documentation. It was a new construction project that I'd worked 9 months on with the clients. They had fired the agent who took me to arbitration for procuring cause, because she said she was a procuring cause. So that is just hugely important. The continuous education that we get, and Nicole can tell you that when she stepped out to work for another brokerage and came back, not all brokerages have that continuing education, and not all brokerages care as much as KW does about our success. I mean, it's about us making money, and that's what Kate and Kelly and Shane work on every single day, is to help us make money as independent business, as business owners. And that's just really, really meaningful. And any of us could turn to any one of them at any time, and they'll help you. And anybody on this call, we can turn to each other at any time and we'll help each other. And that's just a really, really important culture to be a part of. That I always want to make sure I don't take it for granted, because it is unique. It's not just unique to us as a brokerage, it's unique across corporations. And worked with a lot of a lot of different organizations because of my consulting business. And as far as classes go, yes, bold is great. The business planning class is really important to take. I've taken it many, many years. And the other one that I sat through with Barbara, I don't know if people on this call are our previous OPs. She taught a contracts class. And we used to say in government, when I was in government procurement, is whoever knows the contract the best wins the day. So reading, teaching, understanding that contract will give you the leg up in negotiations, because not all agents know that contract as know that contract well. And so it really helps in negotiations, and also really refining your negotiation skills. And that's feedback that I get repeatedly from clients is my negotiation capabilities is a big reason they hire me. And I've spent a lot of time studying it, taking classes, reading it, practicing it. It's been a big part of my past career. But those are real distinctions, because many agents, many people just in general do not, negotiating makes them uncomfortable. To me, it's a strategy. And so you build your strategy and you execute your strategy and you get the results that your client, is hiring you to get.
Well, a lot of it's, when you know the contract so well, and it's the confidence that you can go into that negotiation with.
Right.
Yeah. So is there anything else that we missed? And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. I know there's so much to share, but
Kelly, I think you've covered it all.
and I appreciate we were gonna do this in person and have the team there, but obviously the snow day. But yeah, what do you want to know from Marybeth? And we'll open it up for questions.
So there was a question in the chat. Marybeth, do you mind sharing your approximate age when you made the big transition into real estate?
I love it. Well,
up to you.
Oh my gosh. I was older than most of you on this call.
Remember, she said she had 6 careers.
And
right?
Still am older than most of you on this call.
And she can lift weights heavier than than us too. Yeah. So, all right. What other?
Yes, it was,
I
took fairly late in life.
I took some really good notes, and I put a lot of those in the chat. The goal here is always to kind of summarize the nuggets that you get to hear in these sessions. And so there's a lot of alignment there. Okay, what advice do you have for new agents, if any?
Thank you for that question, because I do have advice for new agents, and because new agents will call me, and since we work by referral, so our lead sources are referral, community involvement, open houses. And because at least I found it really uncomfortable when I was a new agent to just go out there and say, hey, can I buy or sell your house? I had to find I had to weave a path to put myself in that position where people wanted to then hire me. And so I just really recommend that you find that place in your community to be the go-to agent for them, whether it's your church, it's your gym, it's your any volunteer group. I just found that was the easiest path. Or hold an event. Like, I know some agents hire a Santa and take pictures. We were talking about this on our marketing call. If you want every single family in your world to show up, hire Santa and a photographer, because Mothers of North Arlington is about 3,000 mothers in North Arlington, and we're on this listserv. And I'm always saying, hey, do you know where I can get a picture with my kids taken with Santa? And that we're thinking about doing that this year, because it is one of the biggest, highest value returns that I've seen, and biggest demand items. But the other thing I would really recommend is set up an advisory group. get 3 of your friends, and we've talked about this in our team meetings. Get 3 of your friends and get together with them for coffee, wine and cheese, whatever, lunch, dinner, and ask them for advice and counsel on how to build your business. And you'd be amazed at what the generosity that you'll get from that. And then there'll be a referral source, because now you're going to be top of mind for them, and they're going to be looking for business for you. So now you've multiplied yourself by 3 or 4 or 5, however you want to set up, the advisory group. And they will help you. They'll give you ideas about branding. And the other thing, this is the cheapest way to brand yourself. Can you see that?
It's a sticker.
It's a sticker.
Yeah.
Okay. This doesn't cost much at all. And what I'm constantly doing because my background is in marketing and communications, is I want everybody to leave with something with my name on it that they keep in their house. So that, it's like any marketing program, frequency is really important. So I want them to have my name, our email, our contact information in their hands, in their house. And so we're constantly giving things away. This cost maybe $250 for 250 of them, or
I know
500.
you dropped an ice scraper by my desk, and that's been useful.
And yesterday I went around and handed out ice scrapers because of the snow. And so as people were kind of stranded without one in their car, because, a lot of us don't believe that we're really going to get snow, but this is a jar opener. So even people we give these out as people are leaving our open house, we'll say, thank you so much for coming. This is our just show of gratitude for you coming in to see us today. And I said, it doesn't take up much space, and you can use it as either as a mouse pad or as a jar opener. And we, people love these because they don't take much space, and they're useful. So it's inexpensive ways to just constantly have your name in front of people. And we hold wine and cheeses, like when we do in certain neighborhoods and certain condos. And I always have people leave with a goodie bag. And this couple who are still very, very good friends of mine, they stood over in the corner and they were just really quiet. And I went over and I was talking to them and they were renters in the building. And I'd say 6 to 8 months later, I get an email. Hi, Marybeth. You may or may not remember us. We were at your wine and cheese open house, and we couldn't remember your name. But then we go, oh, she gave us a water bottle. I had her contact information on it. So we're reaching out to see if you'll help us find a townhouse. We want to buy a townhouse. So that's why I just really recommend just get these out. It's a way to get your name out as much as possible. And then to just tell everybody that you're in real estate, and have 3 fun facts that show your value to share with people. Then Kelly gives us those all the time.
People when you're at Ross shopping.
Yeah, that was, and we still have dinner with them today, to this day. Kevin, Michael, Zach, and I all go over for dinner. We have them over to our house for dinner. They referred me to their friends, just sold one of the houses.
I like to say, just make more friends, right? That's your whole goal, is to make more connections and more friends. And you actually treat your clients as friends, and sometimes
and family.
Yeah.
So someone asked where you purchase the personalized items.
Ooh, that would be a question for Jessica. We find them from a variety of sources, and I'm happy to get information to Kelly, who could then get it out to people. But we do source them in different, depending on our experience with them. The other thing I have are pens.
That was her answer of, I have the appropriate leverage in place and I don't worry about that.
Yeah. So
Jessica answered in the chat.
Okay, good.
Oh. Yeah, and these are just really inexpensive things, and you just give them out everywhere you go. People go, I don't have a pen. Oh, I have one. I carry them in my purse all the time. Here, let me give you one. And it's it's always got your contact information on it. And again, not expensive.
Awesome. One more question here. Can you talk more about the contractors you use for renovations and how you established relationships with them?
That's a good question, because I've gone through several different contractors. Some of them are referrals from other agents. This general contractor that I work with now was actually a contractor that a client of mine hired. She hired me to renovate her investment condo in Courthouse. And she said, I have a contractor. She said, I just don't want to have anything to do with the design, with picking anything out. Would you do it? You know, I'll hire you to do it. So I that was just serendipity that I met him that way. And he's a phenomenal, he's just phenomenal. There's no other way to say it. And then he's got subcontractors that I've referred clients to. So it's really just a whole variety of, you know, places. Sometimes it's serendipity, sometimes it's intentional when you're asking for them. We get referrals. We have the Mothers of North Arlington, again, that's a big referral source, because that's what the listserv is all about. Hey, I need a plumber, I need this, I need that. So I'll refer my contractors out, which has helped them build their businesses quite significantly. Because once you're on that listserv, then all the moms call you for business. So it's just a whole variety of places, but I'm constantly in search, and I would just recommend just asking people. And then I have them do work in my house. And if they pass my house test, then they go on the list. And if they share the same value system. I had one who did not, and so I had to let him go and get someone else.
That's such a good point. I had a conversation with someone else this week, and the topic was like, when's the last time you put yourself through the litmus test of the experience of your client in your own business? Right. And so we're asking ourselves that on the market center level, honestly, right? Because we have some gaps that we're looking to top grade and whatnot. And so that's sorry, you can probably hear my daughter. So that is a really good concept to share. Kelly, will you do the next question?
Yeah, sorry, let me open the chat. Or if anyone wants to come off mute. Sorry. I don't see any.
The question is the upgrades that you make preparing the listings for sale. Do you eat that cost as part of your compensation, or do you invoice the clients at closing?
Sorry,
That's another really good question. So what I do is the contractor invoices the client directly. We don't eat sometimes we spend as much as $50,000 on renovations. So really anywhere from 10, it's usually anywhere from 10 to 50. We typically don't need to go past that, because we have a lot of different ways of doing things that make a huge impact. You know, that's what we're looking at. What's the minimum we can do to make the highest impact and get the highest return? So all of it, whether it's my the woman who does the deep cleaning, or the floor contractor, or the general contractor, they all invoice the client directly. I don't get involved in any of that. I facilitate it. You know, I make sure everybody's got the right contact information and facilitate the invoice going directly to my client. But we don't get involved in any of those transactions.
You just show them that their return on their investment.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
Right.
All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? Oh, do you have your contractors decide what improvements are best?
So what I do now is what I do is I walk through with the contractor, and I go through what I think needs to be done, and then I see if there's anything else if there's anything I'm missing. But I'm the one who's driving that, who's driving where the highest impact items are. And then, but it's a collaboration with my contractor. One of the great things about this general contractor that I work with now is one, he can do anything, or he has someone who can do anything, which is really helpful, because it's a lot more efficient than I used to cobble teams together. And he does a lot of luxury work on luxury homes. So he is up on all the current trends and things to do to houses to give them that luxury look that don't cost very much. So that's been very helpful. So it is a collaboration. He'll see things icy things, but I've already walked through the house once and know what, what I think needs to be done.
And then
Happy to help anybody. If you want me to walk through a house, a listing that you have, I'm happy to do that with you. I do it quite a bit for just, for friends in the community who are looking to make decisions about if I renovate this bathroom, if I do this to the kitchen, what should I be doing? And I just got a $35,000 quote for a 5x8 bathroom. And I said, well, don't hire that guy. So they'll also just bounce costs off of me. I mean, that's insane.
Being a resource for all of the upgrades and the equity improvements. So Mary wants to know if you'll share the contractor's information. You probably don't want him to be too busy, so he can't do your listings, but I'm kidding. But we can share that with you, Mary. And then Hershey wants to know, how do you handle a client that does not see the value of doing the upgrades?
We've never had a client not see the value because the numbers, I just say to them, the numbers are going to tell the story. The numbers are going to tell us if it makes any sense to do it or not. What I've had are clients saying, I want to do this. Like, to give you an example, there was a house in Woodbridge that we were selling. It was actually a 4-star that I'd worked with in my previous job. And he says, I really think I should paint the back patio. I think that was like off the garage. I said, no, let's not. That's not going to add any value to the house, and it's only going to, cost you money and time. So that's more what I get, is they want to do extra things that don't matter to the value of the house. But I sometimes we'll go through a process of deselecting. So then I'll take things that are lower value off the list to then start refining the budget.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing. I know we've been trying to get this together for a while, and because Meet the Mega is one of my favorite events, but to get through, because you're busy and so scheduling wise, so I'm glad we could do it, even though it happened virtually. But thank you. I appreciate your time. And again, thank you for just always helping me as the team leader and being there as a support. Because just like you guys need the support, we have agents like you that help us too. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's very kind. And I appreciate the participation and the attention today. You guys were very kind to listen to me for this amount of time.
Yeah, there's lots of questions. That's always a great sign of engagement. So Marybeth, thank you so much. Kelly, great job facilitating. Appreciate you both. There's lots of gratitude in the chat. So Marybeth, take a minute and look at that. I'll download it for you so you can have a summary of everything that you shared. It's kind of just like an extra little thing for you to have as part of your, team and your value. And thanks to your whole team today for being here and supporting this. We're really appreciative. And I'm going to close this out here with some music. But first, I just wanted to, this broker's open.